Hello, we are here in Tacoma, Washington at LeMay, America's Auto Museum. We're here for the launch of the brand new 2020 GR Supra from Toyota. But as you can see behind me, they're here working on some of the classics that are available to see in the museum. We thought this was an appropriate place for the new Supra launch, for training for personnel here in the Puget Sound area, because it ties in a lot of historical presence from Toyota and marries that with a lot of the new technologies that are available. The brand new 2020 Supra is a partnership with BMW, which most people recognize as the ultimate driving machine. But this is not a rebodied BMW. The Toyota Supra is new, front to back. We share a couple of components with a few of the BMW products, namely the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder turbocharged engine. That engine in the Toyota format produces about 335 horsepower. That's enough to get the car 0 to 60 in a touch over 4 seconds. So it is a lightning fast car off the line. But more than that, it produces usable power through nearly the entire rev range of the car. So whether you're using the car to commute to and from work on a daily basis, you're taking a spouse to dinner, a client to lunch, or taking the car to the track for an experience around a race course, the car is able to perform well in both of those scenarios. So the new Supra is installed with a ZF 8-speed transmission. ZF is one of the largest transmission builders in the world, based in Germany. It's a shared transmission not only between BMW and Toyota, but you'll see it in many of the Jaguar products, some of the high-end Mercedes-Benz products. Even Chrysler uses it in some of their truck components. The biggest reason for using a transmission like this is twofold. One, it's durable and bulletproof. So using this in a large truck application, it's built to withstand punishing driving conditions and carry a lot of weight, and also be exposed to large volumes of torque. And the transmission is maintenance free, so there's not even a dipstick to check the levels on it. We have yet to see one of these transmissions, even in other applications, fail. So Toyota decided to go with it because of the reputation and the durability that it's provided. So one of the other advantages to this transmission, a lot of the high-performance sports cars today use either a traditional automatic with a torque converter or a dual clutch type transmission. The ZF 8-speed is a torque converter traditional automatic installed with paddles. The advantage is you get all of the performance of a dual clutch transmission, but you get the butter smooth operation when you're in traffic. You don't feel that sort of jerkiness and stop and go with the clutches engaging and disengaging in a dual clutch type transmission. And the reality is, with a vehicle that is nearing 400 horsepower, it is so fast around the track, there's not a manual transmission out there that can keep up with it. And the time it takes your left leg to push in a clutch pedal on a traditional manual, this car will have shifted twice and be gone, and you'll never see it again. So that's why the transition in all the high-performance cars moving towards automatics, because they're more efficient and faster. Toyota has gone with a torque converter traditional automatic because they want to make sure that this car is user-friendly in your daily commute as well. One of the other great things about the new Supra is that we have an active differential. And what that means is we have clutch packs installed for both axles, left and right. And the advantage of that versus maybe a traditional locked rear end or a mechanical limited slip is now we can proactively force the drive torque to the wheel where it's going to help us the most. So for instance, if you're making a fast right-hand turn, the car will proactively take the power and drive it to the left side wheel, in effect pushing the car around the corner. If you want to think about being in a canoe, if you want to make a canoe turn right, you paddle faster on the left or drag a paddle on the inside on the right. That'll help drive the canoe. This is in effect doing the similar thing. As we turn the steering wheel, the computer seeing that steering input, seeing a little bit of throttle, we force the power to the outside to drive the car around the corner. So it's very effective and gives this car the ability to, off the showroom floor, be able to reach 1.1 lateral lateral G's in the turn. 10 years ago, you couldn't achieve that on a race car unless you were running slicks and downforce wings. So the interior of the brand new Supra, many of you, if you've owned BMWs in the past, you might recognize some of the technology. We've been able to take the best of what BMW builds and then integrate it with the things that Toyota customers are going to be most familiar with. Some of the infotainment system displays, again, are going to draw straight from the integrated BMW systems. However, we have taken those and simplified them as much as we can for the Toyota driver. So when we were testing this product and getting it ready for production, we went out to racetracks with different test drivers and we measured and monitored all of the inputs, steering types of inputs, throttle application, the type of suspension settings that they like. When you pull all of that data together and we graph it, it comes down that there's really just a couple of settings that most professional drivers like to use in either a racetrack environment or out on the street. Toyota then pared that down and gave us just a couple of simple settings. In normal, you have a suspension that's compliant and easy on your spine, and yet when you put it in track mode, it stiffens everything up to give you that race car experience. And all of that happens with the simple push of a single switch. You don't have to go through and customize 8 different buttons to achieve that kind of change in character for the car. So the brand new 2020 Supra has a lot of value built into it, not only because of the price point. Some of the features that you see in the new Supra, like the adaptive suspension or the active differential, those technologies are certainly not solely accessible by Toyota. They are available in other makes and models. However, typically you only see them in vehicles that are $80,000 or above. Toyota has, because of the size of the organization, been able to bring those features and provide them in a vehicle at a price point that's much more accessible to a lot more drivers. So you can get out, and somebody that has no high performance driving skills or background, hasn't spent a ton of time at the track, can get in this car and feel like a hero out of the gate because those technologies are working together with the driver to give you a wonderful, fun, exciting drive experience. If most people think about what Toyota is known for and what they build, a lot of people kind of jokingly say that it's an appliance, that it's designed to get people from point A to point B safely and reliably day in and day out. When you look at some of the exotic manufacturers and the European manufacturers, they've been built a reputation on cars that are fun to drive. It's about that ultimate experience, if you will. Toyota's approach to the new Supra was there should be a way to marry those two. And so they spent a lot of time working with the engineers as they were combining their efforts, creating a shared platform and using some of the BMW components as well as some of the design features from Toyota, and making sure that all of those, not just the big components, the engine and transmission and so forth, but down to retaining clips to make sure that they withstand the Toyota testing. Because the reality is, if we go back and look through the last few years, if you were to give somebody the opportunity to choose between a Camry or perhaps a 5 Series and say, which of those two products do you expect to go 200,000 miles? Most people would lean on the Camry. And the cooperative effort that went into developing the Supra and the Z4 was the approach of saying, let's take the best of what both companies can do and create a product that is fun to drive, but that is also built to last. So as we look to the new Supra and look at its collaborative roots with a German manufacturer, a lot of perhaps some of the die-hard Toyota and Supra fans were wondering why we've taken that route, why we didn't develop the car from scratch. Well, there's really 2 reasons for that. One, developing a vehicle from scratch to production is increasingly more expensive. It's not unlikely that a manufacturer can spend $1 billion from napkin to the production line to bring a new new product to market. And for a low volume, knowing that the Supra is a low volume product, being able to justify that expense becomes much more difficult. However, in a collaborative effort, if we can share the cost of that development with another manufacturer, it obviously reduces our cost to build that car. The other advantage for us, when you look at a well-known manufacturer like BMW, again, their history is the ultimate driving machine. That's what they have built, that's what they do. To be able to leverage some of that experience to build an inline six-cylinder turbocharged engine, which is very similar to what was in the previous version of the Supra. We've been able to carry that format forward. We've been able to leverage the experience and the engineering background that BMW has to produce an engine that not only has a lot of power out of the gate, but is highly tunable. So for those people that want to invest money to improve the performance of the new Supra, that BMW inline six is probably one of the best platforms in the world to be able to bolt on performance parts to increase the performance of the car. Well, my experience and background, I've been involved in motor racing for 25 years. And professionally, for the last 20 years, I've been working with different manufacturers with product testing for new prototypes, as well as delivery and teaching, taking those products out to the general public and to different dealership networks around. In my experience, the Supra wins in every category when you look at some of its closest competitors. And it's because of the overall package. I couldn't necessarily point to one thing. The brakes on the car are phenomenal. The active differential is incredible technology. No single one of those things make the Supra a supercar. However, it's the packaging that puts all of those little incremental components together that, again, whether somebody comes into this with zero driving background or somebody like me that has spent time at some of the highest levels in motorsports can get in this car and have a ton of fun with it, feel confident in what they're doing, and really enjoy the experience.